I kicked my mentally deranged sister out of my home for disrespecting my only boundary, so she and her boyfriend started stalking me and made my life hell for years. When my sister Karen went homeless at 18, I took her in, and I quickly realized this was a mistake. She never cleaned it up after herself, leaving her dirty dishes to pile up, and her boyfriend Ken made lots of suggestive and unwanted comments at me when she wasn't around. I was already at my breaking point, and then during a catch-up with friends, one of them asked me if I was sleeping with Ken, as he had spread a rumor that I was desperately trying to. When I heard this, I snapped. I went home and demanded an explanation, because I was completely done with everything that they had been putting me through. They didn't deny it. Ken even said Karen had said it was fine and I was doing them a solid as her sister, since he had a fantasy he wanted to go for. I told them both they were disgusting and that Ken had to leave or I would be calling the cops. Ken left with some insults sent my way, and Karen began telling me she didn't see the problem since my partner and I were on a break. We were not. I told her I was not. For her to sell around like property and that she had 2 weeks to find a place of her own. I was done with her. I called all my relatives, sent them copies of the text messages I was given, and no one in our family wanted anything to do with Karen. She moved in with Ken a few days later. It took me some effort, but I was able to get a restraining order for Ken. Couldn't get one for Karen. Still, they disappeared from my radar except for a few encounters which easily were solved by showing I was about to call 911, and then today happened and I had to hold back my laughter. So my other sister Mary had kept tabs on Karen, since sisters and all, and she messaged me with a notice. Hey, Karen just called me. She's pregnant and Ken kicked her out. I just stared for a few minutes and responded, oh, that's sad. Mary knew and supports that I don't care or have any intentions to help. Karen used Mary's phone to call me. She begged me to help, since Mary is only letting her stay for a week before she moves to another state. Said that she missed her sister and had no one else to go to, that she knows I have family health insurance, and that I could do something like that for her pregnancy medical bills. This baby is a blessing and I should want to help her raise it, meaning I pay for everything. I let her pour her heart out for a good 5 to 7 minutes, then said, nope. I ended the call. She tried calling again for a while, then stopped when I got a text message from Mary saying she had left her phone on the counter and she was sorry for the spamming. Most of my family agrees with me, even Karen's mom. The only one that disapproves is Karen's aunt. She's been putting pressure on me most of the day. She only stopped when I told her one more message and I would show her text messages to my stepfather, who is her landlord. Update 1. Mary called me this morning to have brunch and discuss things related to Karen. She told me she understood I don't want to be part of the mix, but she really wanted it to be discussed and after I can just walk out. Mary is the peacekeeper of my siblings. I agreed on the condition that there was no way Karen would come home with me. Mary just said, if she tries to follow you, I'll drag her out myself. So I dressed up and off I went to brunch with my sisters. I'll skip the pleasantries and dumb friendly family look Karen attempted. Once we were done eating and just having coffee, Mary set all the cards on the table. She explained she couldn't take Karen with her out of state because she's getting married to her longtime girlfriend, and they can only afford a 1-bedroom in her new city. But she also said Karen was insane if she thought Mary would allow her to live with me, even if she had the power to make me take Karen back in. That Karen was lucky she even let her stay with her for these last few days. She told her the only reason we were doing this was because her mother, we all have the same dad but different mothers, had begged her to at least put Karen somewhere safe or find a solution for the pregnancy. So she turned to me and asked me as the most stable economically if there was anything I would be willing to help with. I basically said I would only give money for 3 things. 1. A termination and a hotel room while she heals from it. 2. A ticket back to our home country so she can live with her mother or aunt and get free healthcare. 3. A ticket to our eldest brother's home country so she can live with him because I know he will take her. I also said she had the option to put the baby up for adoption, but I would not be offering her a place to stay or a way to get medical care out of my pocket. I gave her some links to nonprofits she could use. Karen started crying, saying I was trying to take away her baby and being a bad sister, that a good sister would open up her home and help care for her baby, that I never deserved to have the money I have. Most of my money is from inheritance on my mother's side of the family, so not sure how she would have gotten anything. That I was spoiled by my mother because she had money. We did, because after our father left my mother and I with nothing, she made a company from scratch. She kept babbling and making a scene, then she said something that actually hurt me. You are just mad because you will never get pregnant. Yes, I happen to be infertile. Mary knew this was a low blow for me, and basically told Karen one more stupid word like that and she'll be sleeping in the street tonight. I didn't cry or anything, just stared. Karen stopped her crying, muttering, and seemed to get an idea. She looked at me straight and told me to adopt her baby. I laughed at that. I told her she was insane if she thought I would adopt her baby. I don't want her in my life, let alone her ex. I was about to go off on Karen just for even thinking I would consider that as an option, but Mary stopped me on time. She simply said to Karen, you have the options she gave you. You can get a termination, or you can go back to the home country. Either way, you can't stay here. You are not legal, and your immigration status affects us if you were to live with us. I could lose my job, and she could lose her resident status. You have until next Friday to choose. If none of these options work, you will have to find your own solution without us. I don't want you anywhere near my sister. You are lucky I have an empty room for 1 more week for you to crash in, but after I don't want to see you in person. We can keep in touch by Facebook or phone. You've lost the right to spend time in person with either of us. I just stared at Mary. She's very quiet and normally the most reserved of us, so this was not expected. Mary paid, didn't even wait for the change, and left Karen with enough to get a taxi home. Mary grabbed me by the arm and took me out. I didn't know how much I needed someone to just protect me for a change, but I did cry a little on the way out from just pure relief. I had one sister that still looked out for me. We decided to go for ice cream afterwards like we did as kids when bad things happen, and discussed our plans to spend holidays and vacations together. Mary's girlfriend also joined us for ice cream, and the whole time she just made jokes about how sad she's she's going to be without her moving table. Update 2. Karen had until tomorrow to choose between terminating her pregnancy or leaving the country. Well, Karen chose none of the above. She decided to make life so difficult, she is now arrested and more than likely will be deported. What happened was, on Tuesday, Mary decided to leave for a nearby national park to enjoy it one last time before she moves too far to drive there. She left Karen with a key and some money. Big mistake. Mary and her girlfriend returned yesterday and found out all the locks in their house had been changed. To make it even worse, Ken, Karen's supposed ex, had moved into their house. Obviously, the police were called and it was just a major mess. Karen and Ken claimed it was their house. Mary and her girlfriend kept telling them no, it's not. It's not even Mary's house anymore. It was sold and the new family that owns it arrives on Sunday. The police officers were so done with this mess before it even escalated and asked everyone for their IDs. Ken, Mary, and Mary's girlfriend all had their IDs. Karen only had an expired passport. Karen got arrested on immigration charges. Ken got arrested on charges relating to breaking and entering. Yesterday I got called about Karen. Her lawyer said she was claiming to be my surrogate and that the baby in her was actually my child. Yep, she tried this. I told the lawyer that I was not looking for a surrogate or adopting a child and that my sister got pregnant by accident with Ken. He asked if I would be willing to foster her baby, since the child would technically be American. I said, absolutely not. He tried to work things with me, explaining my sister will most likely be deported otherwise. I just told him if that's the law, then that's how it will be. I asked him to please not contact me about her anymore. As far as I am concerned, the only family she has is in our home country. Now, my sister and I are planning to have no contact with Karen. I don't know what exactly will happen to Karen, nor do I care anymore. Now not even aunt in home country wants anything to do with Karen, and even apologized to Mary and I. As for Ken, who knows? I hope he goes to jail, but if he doesn't, I couldn't care less. I now feel like a massive boulder is off my shoulders. I heard that today Karen was offered to leave the US willingly, and she will face no negative effects for her status. She called my mom to see if she could convince me to give my sister the money for the ticket. Mary and I agreed to pay the ticket on the condition she never again contacts either of us. Her mom is aware of this and basically told me that Karen will have to find a job within the month she arrives, or she'll be in the streets. As for lawyers and stuff, I have my own immigration lawyer aware of the mess, and he told me the only way the surrogate plot would work would be a DNA match or a contract. None of that is around, so I'm safe. Mary booked Karen for her trip back on Friday, and good riddance. Update 3. I almost made it to a month without hearing from my half-sister Karen, but it was not to be. Karen left the country and things were calm for a bit, but then she started to call my mother, at every hour, to ask for money, to ask how to contact me. Well, eventually my mom figured how to block her, and Karen got to me through a school friend. She sent a 16-page list of demands or she will sue me. One was getting rid of my foster daughter so I could adopt her baby. Another was an apartment I shared with my cousins left to us by our maternal grandmother. $500,000. My dog and my cat. Oh, and I need to get her back into the US. There's still more, most of it completely delusional. I sent a copy to my lawyer to try to pursue a no-contact order in the US. Can't do anything in my home country, but I did forward another copy to our relatives, including our eldest brother. He just said to me he'll take care. Her ex was recently released and has already caused problems for other people. Luckily, he's keeping away from me. Also, Karen isn't penniless. I divided with her and Mary a $150K inheritance in equal parts. She also got money from her stepfather when he passed. In our home country, she's actually well off. The only reason I never charged rent or asked her for money was because I knew the tuition price was going to be very high and didn't want her to have to take a loan like I did for a time. Update 4. Ken has started stalking me. He's been doing the classics like following me around at a distance, calling me with random numbers, and even tried to come inside my place once. I was not there. I decided to stay elsewhere for safety until I finally moved completely out of the state. I found out Ken was psychotic this morning. I decided to buy a new PC for my partner as a Christmas present. We love video games, but the computer he has is a bit old, so I decided to surprise him and bought a really nice desktop with a cool graphics card. This thing was pricey, but he's been my rock through all the mess with my sister. I set the PC up for pickup at the Blue Tech Emporium. Well, wouldn't you know, I wasn't even done with my coffee when I got a call from customer service saying there was a man there claiming to be my husband and screaming at their pickup person since they wouldn't give them my order. Newsflash, it was Ken. I obviously told them I was not married and that I would be picking it up in person later after work. They asked me to go there to solve this, since they would check IDs to compare. Now, a little detail that Ken didn't know is that I changed my name less than a year ago to remove my biological father's name, since he was known for multiple accounts of rope and whatnot. My name now is that of my stepfather and my mom. When I got there, Ken was screaming at a poor rep, waving an ID saying that the names matched. After explaining to the store security the situation, he accompanied me to speak with the manager. I used to work in that store long ago, so I was on fairly good terms with that manager. He actually knew my old name, but since it didn't match in their system, it didn't matter. Ken began yelling at me, calling me every insult possible. He even tried to throw a tape dispenser, but the guys at the counter took it before he could reach for it. I tried to not even engage with him. The only thing I said directly was for him to let me speak when he wouldn't stop yelling. He kept going, saying I owed him that much, and that he was entitled to my stuff since I took his house, which I didn't. Eventually, he only left when the guys at the store called the police. They couldn't keep him in the store even if they wanted to. It's against their policies. I did stay until the police arrived and brought up all the other situations with this man, all the calls I had made about him stalking, even the no-contact order. Still, the officer said since he was the father of my sister's baby, this was clearly a domestic matter, and all he recommended was for me to change my contact info and the locks at my home. The store wanted to press charges, but since all he did was cause a scene, all that was done was to have him trespassed from the building for the future. I did get my PC and the security guard escorted me to my vehicle, so I didn't have another encounter. Just to be safe, my partner and I exchanged cars later in the day, since it seems there's nothing more the police will do. For now, I'm just planning to keep going with my plan. I will be leaving this weekend to celebrate holidays with a family that my sister Karen doesn't know personally. Update 5. I have officially moved to a safer town away from my half-sister's ex, Ken, who stalked me. This was good news, but then the story turned ugly. I received an email a bit after New Year's from a relative in my birth country. He told me my sister was in urgent care. She induced damage to herself on purpose. As soon as she's released from the hospital, she is to be arrested and will stand trial because her intentions in doing what she did run much deeper than hurting herself, if you catch my drift. With how justice is back home, she's bound for prison. I'm very angry at her right now. I literally offered to pay for termination, and she turns around and does this. Needless to say, Karen has lost not just her parental rights, but any support or affection the family had. I actually sent a letter to her mother to be delivered to this woman, telling her pretty much as far as I am concerned, she is no family, and if she ever messages me, I will block her. Even siblings I don't get along with agree with me. A day later, Karen was finally released from the hospital and sent straight into a jail cell. Right now, she is looking at 10 to 20 years in prison, and she'll have to represent herself as no one will pay for a lawyer. Update 6. A few days ago, my uncle called to let me know that Karen, somehow, someway, managed to get all charges dropped, all except for a minor charge related to making a fake police report. She accused her mother of stealing her car. Karen has no car. Not the best news all things considered, but right now she has no money left except a few $100s she was given by a mutual friend, and no one in our family wants to help her. She even tried contacting my parents to get my new number. Luckily, they refused. Either way, I got called into a video conference at work today because I had broken the company's social behavior policies. The rundown on those is that we're not allowed to post inappropriate social media content, and we are to behave in a way that represents the company respectfully and properly. I was terrified, up until my boss described the situation. Apparently, someone created a profile on OnlyFans under my name. It was very inappropriate. Straight up really bad corn, based on the thumbnails, which I hope a round of heavy booze will help me forever forget. First of all, I don't have nearly enough confidence for OnlyFans. I don't even have the courage to go into the website. Not my thing. Second, I just had to laugh when HR pulled the page with my name on it and a picture of Karen. I just stared at them and asked if they saw the issue. They tried to paint it as, well, it still reflects poorly on the company. After some arguing, the boss basically said this was stupid and to just let it be since it's obvious the person in the OnlyFans is not me. I am ignoring the whole thing, though I low-key sent it to our eldest brother who already told me he's gonna take care of it. Update 7. It's been a year, and I actually saw Karen in real life. Not on purpose, mind you. A few months ago, I went to my home country to tie up some loose ends. I took my adoptive daughter so she could see her birth family and left her with them for the week we were staying. While I was in the hotel, I got called to the lobby. Apparently someone claiming to be my relative was there. I told them I wasn't expecting any visits, but they insisted I came down because apparently the person refused to leave otherwise. Thinking it could be an emergency, and I do have relatives that don't have cell phones, I decided to go see what was going on. Who happened to be? But dear old Karen. She looked fine. Nothing out of the world. So I figured she probably got a job of some sorts and was doing okay. The moment she saw me, she tried to get close to me for a hug, but I took a step back and asked her to leave. Immediately, she began screaming that I had to give her money, that her life was all a mess. The hotel staff tried getting her out and even threatened me with canceling my reservation, but I reminded them they called me and I wanted nothing to do with this person. Karen began saying she would stalk outside the hotel until I either gave her $10,000 or a property I had begun to prepare for sale. I asked for the police and to please not let her anywhere near my room. Eventually, they got her to leave the lobby, but she did stay near the entrance. Even after multiple police calls, the best they did was let her be on the opposite end of the street. So after discussing the situation with the manager, they kindly set me in a different hotel from the same branch in another area. Personally, this worked for me, since I love that area and I could really just relax for the remaining days. From what my relatives told me, Karen is now working as an adult worker in clubs. Apparently men hire her a lot and she has bragged about letting them do it without rubbers. Strange woman she is. Last I heard, she has also been going around claiming the old property I'm selling is hers and tried to find the paperwork for it in my relative's house. I'm not so dumb to leave it there though. Update 8. Well, Karen went ahead and Control-Alt-Deleted herself. She left a note which I have not read yet, but it apparently blames me for everything. With her passing, I don't feel uncomfortable sharing her first name. Karen, as I called her in stories, was actually named Jasmine. Jasmine was a mess to say the least, but I do have a lot of fond memories when we were kids. When we found out about what she did, myself and my other sister Mary went straight to our home country to check the situation and make sure she had been given a proper burial. We paid the fees needed and prepared her funeral. A lot of family refused to come, including Jasmine's mother, so we didn't do anything big. A simple service for anyone that wanted to attend anonymously and quick burial. After that was done, we set out to get her affairs in order. That's when we found she left over $25K of bills for Mary and I to pay. Unlike the US, where we come from, debts are passed to the closest relatives regardless of the debtor's death. In this case, it would be Jasmine's mother, but we decided to take it over. The peak of pettiness came when we were taking out her stuff from the place she rented. We found a lot of missing items, from toys from our childhood to jewelry, even my graduation dress. She was selling all of them online.